Guys, if London and the UK believed in air conditioning, my quality of life would be so much better right now.
You know you're not in the US anymore and back in Canada. This is a large way.
Americans, I'm in California right now, exploring your national parks, exploring your beauty, and we owe you an apology in Europe. This place is incredible. Check it out.
This is not a joke, but a syndrome reverse culture shock. Our brains have a terrifying biological mechanism. It takes less than 5 days to get used to abundance, but it will take months of suffering to downgrade back to scarcity. They are having to unlearn the American energy. In this video, I will unveil the secrets that no one has told you about how America reprograms the minds of international tourists. I promise you will understand why, once you experience the grandeur of America, you will never be able to see your homeland in the same way again. Let's get started. Let's start with the most tangible shock, the one that hits straight into the eyes and stomach of anyone who has just landed at an American airport: the portion sizes.
It's bigger than your face.
Bigger than my head. I've been deprived my whole life from Texas barbecues. Look at this food. Look at it. Beans, mac and cheese, brisket, pork ribs.
And sauces. I
still
can't
got
believe
the-
there's no sauce in England.
No, it's still got the bone on it. This is the best. Go to Blunso's. Amazing. So good.
Look at the plate of brisket, that Texas twang smoked brisket drenched in Texas twang sauce. Look at how each tender, juicy slice of meat glistens with rich, fatty marbling that falls apart at the touch. She continuously praised American food. It sounds somewhat humorous, but it's an extremely original dopamine response of humans when faced with a feast of flavors. And it doesn't stop there. Just look at this Italian family at a fast food chain in Dallas. They were stunned for a few seconds when they received the medium-sized soda.
I've got 2 Camo 4 Locos, one from the UK and one from the US. We can instantly see the size difference.
What in the name of the United States of America is this? Look at the size of this can.
It's huge.
In Europe, that cup would have to be called a supersize, or even a small bucket to carry water. So what's really going on here? Why does America produce such enormous portions beyond imagination? To explain this phenomenon, we need to peel away the entertainment layer and look at it from the perspective of agricultural economics. America possesses vast central plains with agricultural surpluses among the most staggering on the planet. Thanks to industrial-scale farming technology and reasonable agricultural support policies, the cost of producing raw materials such as corn, wheat, and livestock in the U.S. is extremely low. When raw materials are as cheap as chips, restaurant and F&B chains in the U.S. enter a fierce competitive battle. Instead of competing with European-style finesse or elaborate decor, American brands choose a much more pragmatic strategy: value for money. Pricing based on volume. In the American business mindset, the quickest way to make customers feel their money is well spent and to satisfy them is to pile their plates high with food. The cost of a larger plastic cup or an extra scoop of ice cream actually only amounts to a few cents, but the psychological value it brings to consumers is priceless. They leave with their stomachs full and the feeling that they just got a great deal. If you find these macro analyses intertwined with reality interesting, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right away so the YouTube algorithm knows you are a savvy viewer.
Yeah.
What is this little one bite face ass slider?
Look at it. Whoa.
But the real psychological trap of behavioral economics appears when these tourists return home. When Europeans return to their home countries, what they truly miss is not necessarily the taste of a burger or a fry. What they miss, what makes them feel a sense of loss, is the abundance of power that America has temporarily bestowed upon them.
This is large fries in America. This is large fries in England. Both from the same company, yet the portion sizes are absolutely astronomical in America compared to England. Looking at the ingredients,
This is normal here. That's completely normal, man.
What? I asked a medium size. That's medium. Ma che medium?
In the US, you have the right to linger in a restaurant for hours, refill your drinks as many times as you want, free refill, without anyone giving you a dirty look. You didn't finish your meal? The restaurant automatically prepares a to-go box for you to take home, turning one meal into 2 convenient meals. That is a carefree lifestyle, an experience of generosity, and then, when they return to the expensive European cities, where restaurants serve perfectly portioned, standard meals that are finished in one sitting, with no refills, and where asking for a takeout box is sometimes considered strange, they suddenly feel constrained. Their brains had been reprogrammed by the abundance of America, and the modest reality back home suddenly became uncomfortably small. This material abundance is just the tip of the iceberg. America not only reshapes your stomach, it also attacks the way you interact with the world around you every morning. What will happen when you move from a society where everyone bows their heads to avoid strangers to a place where everyone exudes an oddly positive energy? Let's move on to the next part, to decode the psychological addiction called protagonist energy. Now, we will step into one of the most contentious chapters of the reverse culture shock journey, the battle at the dining table.
Sorry, America, but when it comes to food, Britain wins.
Honestly, before going to America, didn't every European carry an immense pride in what is called the long-standing refined cuisine of the old continent? We often mock American food as industrial, as overflowing with chemicals. But let's watch this bitterly reactionary clip of a vlogger after returning from the US.
Okay, dippy dippy, shippy dippy. If you know, you know. Mm. Mm.
It's time to try ranch from the US.
Not done yet. Take a look at this girl who has visited a total of 12 different coffee shops in London just to find a familiar caramel latte or pumpkin spice latte. What was the result? The cafe staff looked at her as if she had just grown 2 more heads. They coldly said, "Here, we only have regular latte." This disappointment is not just about craving a dish, but it is a moment of realization. What my hometown calls original sophistication is sometimes a terrifying laziness and conservatism in catering to customers' tastes. Which side are you on in this battle? Do you prefer the originality of Europe or the explosion of America? Leave a comment below so we can debate together. To understand why Europeans crave American flavors so much when they return, we must delve deeply into the nature of social structure. America, on a macro level, is a melting pot, a cultural hot pot. When hundreds of waves of immigration from all over the world pour in here, they bring with them the essence of their homeland's spices, from the spicy heat of Mexico, the herbs of Asia, to the smoking techniques of Europe. The American food industry is not bound by any traditional shackles. They are willing to break all the rules to mix them together, creating explosive sauces like Texas Twang or Smoky Mountains to elevate the meat to a level of maximum dopamine stimulation.
For all of the Europeans who used to call Americans fat pigs for eating ranch, okay? I know that a lot of you have discovered the very sexy, seductive, alluring, hypnotic power of ranch now.
On the contrary, European cuisine represents classicism and moderation. Europeans revere preserving the original flavor of the ingredients. A piece of steak in France or Italy sometimes only needs a bit of sea salt and pepper. They consider it an art. But the line between refined art and monotony is extremely thin. When the tourists' brains have been bombarded by a colorful matrix of flavors in America, returning home and facing a plate with just salt and pepper suddenly becomes a torment. They realize that the restaurants back home seem too lazy to be creative, refusing to change for one simple reason. Our tradition has always been this way. This flavor shock also leaves a very clear behavioral psychological consequence. Europeans returning home suddenly find themselves feeling out of place in their own homeland. They even forgot how to enjoy the dishes in their own country.
Americans really have
have some nerve saying that British food is bad when this is one of their top dishes. This is something called beanie weenies, which is literally baked beans with chopped up hot dogs in, and they all love it and go crazy over it. Baked beans is a British food, but
you know, America doesn't just enchant tourists with flavorful dishes or gigantic drinks. The ultimate weapon, the one that has the strongest impact on the psyche of Europeans, is something completely invisible. That's how people there wake up and treat each other every day. A strangely positive energy that Europeans call the protagonist addiction. How has this disrupted their worldview? Let's move on to the next part to explore. We have just gone through stories about the stomach, the size of plates, and glasses of water. But if it were only material things, America would not have been able to instill such a lingering nostalgia in international visitors after they returned home. Now, I want you all to listen to an extremely profound sharing from a British content creator who has lived for over 10 years in both San Francisco and Houston, Texas.
And for the first time, I realized, I actually really miss just American hospitality and American service. To eat at restaurants, for example, and we weren't getting offered a water when we sat down. We were waiting for the lady to come and take our drinks order for like over 15 minutes. And these are things that I'm just not used to anymore. And it sounds so silly, but you really take...
A European friend once said something like this: Americans live as if they are the main character, while the British live as if something terrible is about to happen. When hearing these words, many people initially thought it was just a light-hearted, superficial comparison. But for the European tourists who have just finished their trip, this is the moment of psychological low, the core reason explaining why they feel a sense of loss when returning to the monotonous daily life. To decode the so-called main character energy, we need to look at it through the lens of behavioral psychology and educational foundations. American society is firmly built on the foundation of individualism and the classical philosophy, the American dream. From a young age, an American child is programmed to think, you are unique, you have the right to shine, and you are fully capable of mastering your own destiny. Americans wake up every morning with a very strong internal belief, today will be a wonderful day and I must go out and conquer it. This mindset drives them to always be outgoing, communicate openly, speak loudly, confidently discuss what they do, and not hesitate to cheer for the success of others.
How mad is that? Genuinely, people will fill you with encouragement. They'll check on you to see how you're doing, and that's not from a jealousy point of view. That's because they genuinely want you to succeed. Also, imagine you're living in a country where it's cold, grey, raining. Everyone's doing the same thing day in, day out. Every weekend they're going...
In contrast, most European countries are deeply influenced by old collectivism and risk management thinking. Europeans wake up with caution, sometimes a bit grumpy and sullen. In their culture, standing out too much or being overly confident is sometimes seen as lacking humility. The emotional support between people here is somewhat stricter. Like the English guy in the video bitterly admitted, in England, if you tell someone a good idea, they will tell you it's a bad idea and they won't support you. The only time they support you is when you have already succeeded. This very difference creates an invisible psychological filter. When European tourists arrive in the US, they are suddenly thrown into an environment where anyone is ready to stop and give them a smile, a sincere compliment, or a refreshing high five. America, in some way, has temporarily removed the crown of judgment from the heads of Europeans, allowing them to live as their most brilliant and confident selves. If you resonate with these profound analyses of humanity, please take 2 seconds to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That is invaluable support that helps me continue producing high-quality films like this to chat with you every week. And then, every party must come to an end. The moment tourists step off the plane, returning to the old continent is also the moment they have to face the grim reality. Reverse culture shock here is not just about the smaller plate of food, but the sudden disappearance of a vibrant source of life energy. They stepped out onto the street trying to smile at a passerby as a habit in America, but only received an indifferent look or avoidance in return. No more spontaneous compliments, no more brief conversations that brighten the entire day. Europeans seem to realize that they have completely fallen in love with the feeling of being the main character, surrounded by the positivity and hope of Americans. Returning home, they fell into a state of emotional emptiness, a mild form of depression. realizing that the society around them was too quiet and closed off. However, this difference in human energy is only part of the story. To maintain that confidence and carefree, liberal lifestyle, America also possesses another fundamental weapon: a massive industrial-scale infrastructure system that provides extreme convenience, ready to crush the old but cramped architecture of Europe. What is it about the operational system of the United States that makes Europeans feel like they are being left behind in the previous century when they return home? Let's move on to the next part. Now, let's temporarily step away from psychological stories to delve into a more macro aspect, one that short TikTok videos rarely have time to analyze deeply: infrastructure. Let's take a look at the very realistic experience of a British traveler when facing the daily operational system in the US. However, this difference in human energy is only part of the story. To maintain that confidence and carefree liberal lifestyle, America also possesses another fundamental weapon: a massive industrial-scale infrastructure system that provides extreme convenience, ready to crush the old but cramped architecture of Europe. What is it about the operational system of the United States that makes Europeans feel like they are being left behind in the previous century when they return home? Let's move on to the next part. Now, let's temporarily step away from psychological stories to delve into a more macro aspect, one that short TikTok videos rarely have time to analyze deeply: infrastructure. Let's take a look at the very realistic experience of a British traveler when facing the daily operational system in the US. This convenience creates a perfect physical safe zone for people. Therefore, when European tourists return home, facing cramped rooms and outdated heating systems, they suddenly feel as if they have stepped into a time machine and been pulled back to the previous century. If you love macro-analytical perspectives that are also incredibly relatable like this one, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. Your interaction is the greatest motivation for me to continue creating more in-depth and high-quality content. However, that extreme convenience of America also comes with a management mindset characterized by strict discipline and economic pragmatism. Charging $40 for 5 hours of parking or being ready to tow cars immediately reflects a clear philosophy. Urban space is a precious resource, and any actions that reduce the efficiency of the system must be dealt with economically. Americans accept this harshness in exchange for a smoothly functioning and convenient society. When returning home, Europeans realize they are at a crossroads. On one side is the romantic, proud, and ancient charm, but accompanied by daily inconveniences. On the other side is modernity, with perfect convenience, but accompanied by high costs and practical discipline. And you know what? This convenience and industrial mindset don't stop at plumbing systems or road planning. Americans have elevated it to a much higher form of art. It is the entertainment of every aspect of social life. They can turn a college sports game into a grand show on par with the Olympic Games. How did this show stifle the thinking of European tourists? Let's move on to the next part. Now, let's boost the energy of this video to the highest level because we are about to touch the core identity that creates America's soft power: the entertainment industry that permeates every aspect of life. Check out this super funny clip of a British TikToker experiencing what is called college sports in America for the first time. This friend was almost speechless, unable to hide his astonishment. In England, university sports are basically just a handful of people kicking a ball next to a parking lot. And in America, college sports look like the Olympics married the Super Bowl and had a baby. The stands are packed with no empty seats. There are grand marching bands, fireworks lighting up the sky, and mascots performing like professionals. Why can't we do this in England? That's America for you. They have a superpower of turning anyone, any event into the center of a grand show. To decode this cultural shock, we need to look into the nature of the American entertainment economy. America is the pinnacle, the master of the entertainment industry. For the American business and social mindset, any crowd-attracting activity must be elevated to a highly interactive experience filled with positive energy. They don't just sell a college sports game, they sell a comprehensive entertainment show that includes music, lighting, choreography, and peak emotions. Even the mindset of this show permeates everyday life. From the way huge supermarket chains like Costco or Walmart arrange their goods in a maze-like manner, to a traffic police officer happily buying food for the people at a 7-Eleven store. All of this creates a friendly, vibrant atmosphere filled with positive energy. In contrast, European culture tends to favor orderliness, tranquility, and separation. Sports activities or community gatherings on the old continent are often kept at a moderate, practical level and respect personal space. This very difference has created a powerful psychological effect. When Europeans are in America, it's as if they are living in a colorful and vibrant IMAX 3D blockbuster. If you are feeling drawn into the explosive energy of this video, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Sharp and captivating analyses like these will always be updated to explore the world with you. But after all, is a world that is always bursting like a grand show really the perfect place to live for a long time? Or is it the simplicity, elegance, and moderation of Europe that is the peaceful haven after days of wandering? Let's move on to the final part of the video, where we will bring our minds back to Earth and together summarize what America has truly left in the minds of travelers after these fascinating reverse culture shocks. So, the journey through the fascinating reverse culture shocks of European tourists has come to an end. In the end, we must acknowledge a truth. America has somehow won the battle for the psychological hearts of international tourists. The disappointment and nostalgia they feel when returning home is essentially a process of redefining the brain's expectations. America has given them a taste of the power of abundance, the smoothness of a modern infrastructure system, and a source of positive energy, confidence like the main characters in a cinematic film. But let's bring our brains back down to earth a bit. Is America really as perfect as what we just saw through the lens of travel vloggers? The answer is definitely no. In exchange for those gigantic portions, cups as big as buckets, or that attentive service, America is a society driven by extreme consumerism and tremendous economic pressure. Tourists have also exclaimed that the cost of living here is so high that you'd have to sell your house and car just to afford it. America is glamorous and convenient, but it is also rife with urban instability, a transportation system that forces you to rely entirely on cars, and an industrial pace of life that can sometimes be suffocating. When the dopamine rush fades, Europeans will realize that their ancient continent, though small and somewhat dull or conservative, offers another invaluable value: moderation, refinement, tranquility, and a leisurely pace of life that values quality over quantity. No system is better than another. They are merely mirrors reflecting different cultural, historical, and economic values. The essence of stepping out into the world is not to find a better place, but to realize that the concept of normal is actually just what we are already too familiar with back home. And what about you? If given the choice, would you choose a life bursting with energy and abundance like an IMAX blockbuster in the US? Or would you choose the peace, moderation, and elegance in the classic European style? What is the wow data that surprised you the most in today's video? Please leave your comments below, and I will join the discussion with you.